Hello, my loves. I'm Ellie Frost. Thank you so much for being on my channel where we are talking about the multi-dimensional approach to rapidly and radically healing and transforming during and after narcissistic abuse. And this video is called How to Deal with a Narcissist Friend. So let's see. So look, I'm talking about the definition of narcissist that we talk about on this channel, which is a destructive energy. It's a spiritual attack. The word narcissist is thrown around in our culture to describe people who are selfish and egotistical, right? But they might not necessarily be completely destructive. You haven't got to diagnose someone as a narcissist, and I've made another video on this last week, to know how they make you feel. So the first thing I would be aware of is, how does this person make you feel? Because that's the most important thing you'll ever know, much more than deciding whether someone's a narcissist. Then you get to use your voice and set boundaries and explain what's working for you and what doesn't. But before you even get there, we actually need the emotional intelligence to be with ourselves and know what we want and need in relationships. The biggest issue we're facing really in healing from this and forming healthy relationships is we haven't been taught that it's okay to get our needs met, and we don't know if we're being, too much, unrealistic. We're not sure whether we are, what our expectations should be, I guess, right? So what I do in my program with people is go through your values, but I don't just keep them out there as some lofty concept like I value trust. That sounds good, but what does it mean? I teach people, and there's an exercise in Sovereign where you go through, well, what does that look like though? What do I mean by that in my personal relationships, in my work relationships, in whatever context, I'm saying that value is important to me, right? And then I teach people boundaries. Now, a boundary is a deal breaker. A boundary, if you have to say a boundary, the behavior's gone too far normally, and that could be because the other person's disrespected the boundary, or it could be because you didn't know what boundaries to set early on. It's very important in order for us to, even with the most loving, amazing people, to set our boundaries and talk about what our expectations are and agree them, right? Because the biggest problem facing our relationships is all the undercurrent, the unsaid stuff, the resentment, the icky kind of feelings we have, right? That we're not willing to actually say. I believe in a normal relationship, what's normal, but in a relationship, there's no point complaining about something that you're not willing to speak. But if someone shows you who they are and they're not willing to meet your needs and honour your boundaries and your limits, right, then you're now choosing to put up with that. Not always, because there's some very sticky situations that I talk about with people in marriages, in family of origin, where it doesn't feel like much of a choice. But with friendships, you do have a choice. And a lot of this issue of what goes on in the dynamic is a communication issue rather than anything else, right? But if you're dealing with a real narcissist, a true narcissist, someone who is soul detached, operating with an entity of consciousness that's a very destructive energy called narcissism, then actually, why are they your friend? They're not actually capable of being a friend. They're not capable of giving you love, approval, validation, support, a reciprocal relationship if they're a true narcissist. So then you've got a question do I want to cling on to this? Do I want to cling on to fake love because I don't think I can have real love, which is what most of us do in these dynamics, or we don't want to face our own loneliness, right? After breaking out of these cycles, one of the biggest things you're going to face is loneliness while you're rebuilding yourself and learning how to form healthy connections. And so sometimes we'll avoid an emotional experience that we haven't processed, or something that we're scared of facing, so we cling on to people who are bad for us. How is this friend affecting your mental health? The first thing to start with is not how to deal with the outside, right? This is what I keep teaching, and I hope it's coming across well. The first thing to think about is, how is this affecting me? That's the first thing. Self-focus is one of my pillars of Sovereign, right? Because we're too busy working out strategies to deal with destructive people than actually starting with, how is this affecting my peace of mind, my mental health, my well-being, right? And then what do I need to do about it? If you start with, this friend always makes me feel bad, right? Have I communicated? Have I tried to set boundaries? Have I said what I want and need out of the relationship? Is this friend aligned with my values, right? Because guess what? In romantic partnerships, especially, if someone does not share the same values as you, they haven't got to be the same as you, but their core values have to align for a healthy, successful relationship, right? If they don't, then you're always going to be in conflict. So if you know a friend knows they're making you feel bad, and if you actually know your friend is a narcissist, which, by the way, is a lot easier to detach from than a family of origin narcissist or a romantic partner narcissist, then really think about what's unhealed in you that needs to cling on to them. Because I've seen this with clients and stuff, and, friends that are constantly letting them down, friends that behave very differently around you than other friends, friends that belittle you, friends that invalidate you, friends that don't show up for you, right? Friends where you know it's completely outbalanced. The only reason we stick to that is out of some kind of loyalty, because we believe in loyalty at our own expense and sacrifice at our own expense sometimes. And also because we don't know how to make other friends, which can be quite scary. And that's just something we have to face sometimes, right? So we have this underlying belief that I'm better off being with these people than being alone. And that's just something we have to kind of ascend through, heal through, knowing that if we start believing it's an abundant universe, which is a journey, we come into a different spiritual truth, that actually I can form better connections to this, and I am willing to go through temporary discomfort, which could be a bit of loneliness, right? While I find my people. Yeah. And in the meantime, I'm going to live my values. I'm going to make sure for the people in my life that aren't narcissists, right? I'm going to do my best and show up my best and learn tools and communication tools and heal my wounds and, all that kind of stuff, work on myself so that when the right people are there, I'm an instant match. Because secure people wanting true friendship, true intimacy, they're not going to, one, be destructive to you, but two, they're going to want you to be a secure friend back, right? So we've got to be kind of clear on what we're trying to create in our lives and who we need to be in order to receive it and live by it. And that does not mean that friendship should all be about obligation, friendship should be about understanding, I think, A lot of people are in dynamics with friendships where it's you're guilted into meeting someone else's needs. Right? Which is, the narcissistic pattern is you're always being manipulated into what the narcissist needs you to be. So get really clear on what kind of friends you want to be and what kind of freedom you need in your relationships. Because a lot of people have got unhealthy dynamics going on in friendships because it's there's a whole load of resentment going on. If you keep scoring relationships, it ruins relationships. If you're dealing with a narcissist as a friend, you probably don't want to be around that person. They're probably they're going to just be a very destructive energy. They could be part of a friend dynamic. The answer is not to go around convincing all your other friends why that person is a narcissist half the time, because quite frankly, a narcissist will show up differently around different people. And if you're their target, they're going to kind of drain you and probably empower everyone else, and turn them against you at some point. So by getting clear on who we are, right, living by our values, being the best versions that we can be of ourselves right now, not beating ourselves up for not being perfect, because we're never going to be perfect, right, but just being as true to what we aspire to as possible, we're going to be a magnet for the right kind of relationships over time. Yeah. So trusting that we will figure out how to have more loving, connected, beautiful relationships. Trusting that we will learn how to meet our own emotional needs first, so we're not dumping them on other people, because a friend isn't a dumping ground. I've taught you guys that before, right? And I know this video is called How to Deal with a Narcissistic Friend, right? But my job is much more to get us in a position where we don't attract them, right? And we don't tolerate them whatsoever. If you're dealing with a narcissistic friend, cut your ties, guys. If it's a true narcissist, guess what? A narcissist is a package deal. They come with all that glitters is not gold, meaning they come with some shiny attributes. They could be really fun. They could be really funny. They could show up sometimes, but they're a package deal. They come with betrayal. They come with jealousy. They'll never be pleased for you if they're a true narcissist when you succeed. They'll never have your back, and they'll backstab you and betray you and turn everyone against you if you do something they don't like. That's what you're signing up for with a narcissist. So if you're really with dealing with a narcissistic friend, that's the package deal. But if you're not, we want to make sure we're a great energetic match to create what we want. Now, while you're working on yourself, which is a constant lifelong journey, there is no need for you to be around toxic people more than you absolutely have to, right? So you don't want to hang out with the friends that are bringing you down and are not supporting your evolution and your journey into a more loving life, because that's what breaking free of narcissistic abuse is. It's coming out of brutal, horrible, toxic, one-sided, nasty relationships into a more loving and fulfilling life, which starts with us first, right? And it starts with new standards and living by our values and not tolerating people to have access to us, right? Especially our private lives, because when you've got people close around you, you're going to share. Of course you are. Like, of course, the rules of dealing with narcissists are don't overshare, don't let them know too much about you. But it's not in our nature as humans to be on defense and on guard, and it's impossible, right? So we do have to be mindful of who we surround ourselves with, and it does come with us first, meaning that you can't change a narcissist, that's for sure. But if you're dealing with people that you might need to set better boundaries with that aren't a true narcissist, then it's learning the emotional intelligence to do that. Sovereign does cover that, but and I keep talking about things like that on the channel. I'm putting us into our own authentic power first, right? Which changes your energetic set point in the universe and the match to what you'll receive from the universe overall. Is there still going to be some trauma on this journey and some wounds that we could attract people or be targeted, nothing to do with what we're attracting, by people who see our empathy and see our hearts and want to exploit that, of course. But the more we understand what I teach you guys, the less and less and less that's a part of our life, right? So keep commenting, liking, subscribing, sharing. Thank you for being here. Lots of love, and I'll speak to you soon.